Welcome, Mama, to your official halfway point, week 20. As we have discussed before, you will never really know your own pregnancy halfway point. But if you have the standard 40-week pregnancy, this week is the halfway marker. And this week marks that sweet, great milestone for you and your baby. Your baby is 6.5 inches in length when measured from the top of their head to the baby's bottom, or 10 inches when measuring the legs also. Your baby also weighs about 10 to 12 ounces. Your baby is so small that they could lay in the palm of your husband's hand and barely reach from his fingertips to his wrists. Your baby looks almost exactly how they will at birth, just tinier and with less adorable plump. Your baby is busy moving around and exploring their waters as they practice breathe, swallow, and suck to further develop their lungs for life outside the womb. Your baby is starting to grow some hair too, though the amount that they are born with will be entirely dependent on your genetics. Some babies are born with a head of hair, and some are born with just some sweet fuzz up there too. This little peach fuzz will barely reveal their hair color, but the nurses will know the hair color right away. Speaking of hair color, the color of their hair at birth will not necessarily be their lifelong color, just like the color of their eyes at birth. Most babies will change both hair and eye color over their first year, with the greatest changes falling in the few weeks and months following birth. Interestingly, eye color can even change up to a few years after birth in a subtle way. Most babies are born with blue or gray eyes that change in the first 2 weeks towards their future color. This is similar to their hair color. Most of the hair present at birth will slowly rub off, and new hair will grow in its place in their natural hue. So, if you dare, give your baby's hair a little snip in the days following birth to remember that sweet color for their baby box. Though we are getting ahead of ourselves, this week is the official week of the ultrasound. Although this ultrasound is known for the gender reveal, it is actually medically scheduled for checking for all of the growth and the measurements of your baby. Baby will be measured along with their organs and their bone growth to check for any medical abnormalities that might be useful to know before birth. Although we, as the curious parents, want to just know if we're having a boy or a girl. Now, if you decided that you want to be patient and wait for an exclamation at birth of, "It's a girl" or "It's a boy," just tell your ultrasound tech and they will be careful not to reveal your secret. They will know themselves, typically because that is just part of the ultrasound, but they will put a note in your chart to make the other doctors and nurses aware of your preference. Though I would like to advise you to remind each medical professional that you see in the office after this point that you do not want to know gender, so they do not accidentally slip with the information. Oh, what an exciting time this is to see your growing sweet baby. The joy and the anticipation of seeing what you have only watched grow in the shape of your belly. If you have the privilege of being in a more modern doctor's office for this visit, you may be able to ask for a 3D peek at your baby. I advise you to see this viewpoint of your child so that you can further marvel at God's handiwork. Although your baby has not gained the fat to plump up those sweet cheeks yet, it is fun to compare the image from the 3D ultrasound to that of their first picture. If the doctor's office only has a 2D ultrasound available, it will still be a memorable experience for you as you gaze on the first sweet image of your child. In addition, the medical community does advise against getting more ultrasounds than needed. Just like an x-ray, it is not advisable to get this procedure done unless there is a reason to do so, because it is not entirely natural and the warmth of the ultrasound can possibly have adverse effects if the machine is kept in one place for too long. Although, if you are only getting a 3D ultrasound once to see your baby for a short period of time, then there is nothing wrong with the use of this technology. Just make sure that you do your own research and use your own judgment when deciding to use these outside clinics for an extra ultrasound. Your baby is forming within your womb for a reason, designed by God, so that should be protected as the hidden mystery that it is. This week marks the start of your 5th month of pregnancy. If you have not felt baby kick, that first feeling will more than likely be in the next few weeks from now. Some women, after recognizing their first movements of their baby, will then realize that they were feeling that sensation for a few weeks. For a few weeks already, just without connecting that it was their child. Whereas some women, because of the placement of the placenta, will not feel any movement at all or a decreased intensity, because the placenta can act like a cushion and prevent that feeling. At this point, both those kicks and your bump is in that sweet stage, and that stage is adorable and yet has not yet crossed into the point of discomfort, but that time may come in the 3rd trimester. So enjoy this time, prepare what you can, and stay motivated to complete projects that you have in mind in order to prepare for your baby. Drink lots of water, and when you feel like you want to eat something in the evening, try drinking another cup of water to see if maybe you were actually just thirsty from your long day of moving around before you reach for another plate of food. If you are truly hungry, grab a handful of nuts. It has actually been proven that eating nuts while pregnant lowers the risk of the baby getting a nut allergy. It lowers the risk of your baby getting a nut allergy, but only do this if you yourself do not have an allergy to them. It is so easy to overeat during pregnancy, especially if you have a lot of responsibilities to care for throughout the day. And you are famished by evening. The evening seems to be a time to catch up on feasting, but be careful to fully recognize your symptoms, because the more that is gained, the more difficult the 3rd trimester becomes. There has actually been a study that suggested that eating smaller meals consistently allows for a healthier and to-term delivery. A baby likes the consistency of their meals spread out during the day, just like you do. So if you are not used to eating consistent spread out meals, this may be the time to start. Pregnancy is not a time for fasting, and not a time for overindulging. The balance is key. This will also help with the heartburn and stomach rumblings that can occur during pregnancy also. Remember that occasional headaches are typical for pregnancy. Remember that occasional headaches are typical for pregnancy. But if you cannot function with a headache, it may be time to call your doctor to see if you also have rising blood pressure accompanying the headache. If you feel shortness of breath in addition to a racing heart rate, it is always better to get checked because problems can arise and escalate quickly. So please call your doctor if you experience anything like this. Leg cramps are common, so prop up those feet as much as you can. And if your ankles are swollen, soak in a nice warm bath to end your day. When looking at your belly in the mirror, you may notice that your belly button is also changing form. Many women during pregnancy will have their belly button pop to become an outie for the remainder of their pregnancy. At this point, you no longer need a Doppler to hear your baby's heartbeat. Like in the doctor's office. So if you have a stethoscope at home, your baby's heartbeat can be found just by placing it on the correct spot on your belly. Just be careful you are not listening to your own heartbeat because your abdominal aorta runs down from the heart and branches off into many arteries and can trick you. Use a stopwatch and count the number of beats in 1 minute. And if the number is under 100, it is more than likely your own heartbeat because your baby's heartbeat should be around the 150 mark. As you have fun exploring and visualizing your sweet baby, now is the time for a celebration. No, baby is not ready for birth, but baby has reached a wonderful milestone. Many couples choose to plan a baby moon at this time, but this can be as simple or as complex as you desire or can afford. It is a very nice thing to get away, just the 2 of you, before it comes the 3 of you, the 6 of you, or the 12 of you. There are so many spiritual retreats also offered for expectant parents, and this may be something you may want to look into. Especially if this is your first and you have the time and availability. Before planning childbirth classes and getting ready for the downhill journey of the next 20 or so weeks, take time and spend an hour or more in adoration with God. Thank Him for this journey and pour out your worries and fears at Christ's feet. It is never too late or too early to start a deeper relationship with God. And as the miracle of our child develops within our womb, it is completely natural to feel closer to God. Many women experience a huge conversion during their pregnancy as the reality of this life not being only about themselves sets in. I should know I was one of those women. May you stay close to God during this time and find Him and love Him in everything. And find Him and His love in everything. I want to end with a beautiful quote from St. Zélie Martin. When we had our children, our ideas changed somewhat. We lived only for them. They were our happiness, and we never found any except in them. In short, nothing was too difficult, and the world was no longer a burden for us. For me, our children were a great compensation, so I wanted to have a lot of them in order to raise them for heaven. I hope to see you next week.